Hey guys, so what we're going to do today is we're going to look at how to find the measures of variation in data today, which is really just how spread apart data is. So we call it our spread in data. We're also going to look to see if there are any outliers. Now, outliers are numbers that are outside the data, like very far out there. Now, sometimes it's really hard to see if they're outside the data. So there is a formula that we're going to use to see if it's outside the data. Now, the first thing we're going to see is look at is the range. Now, the range is just the difference between the highest and the lowest number in the data to see how far apart the data is. The next thing is our quartiles. Now, our quartiles just divide our data into three equal points, a lower quartile, a median, and an upper quartile. Now, they're all just really middles of different pieces of numbers. So we are going to show you simplistically through just birds how to divide the data into quartiles. Okay, so what I'm going to ask you to do is look at the birds and copy down this as we go along together, and pause the video if you need to. So if you to find the quartiles, you're going to arrange the numbers from least to greatest. You find the median first, and then we find the median of the lower half of data and the median of the upper half of data. And I'm going to show you how to do that right now. So here are our birds. What we're going to do first is we're going to look at our first set of birds. Now here in this set of birds, we're going to look at the total amount of birds. How many are there? You have to count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Now that we know that there are an even amount of birds, the median is going to be separate the data between the lower half and the upper half. So that means we're going to have 8 birds on one side and 8 birds in the middle. So this is where our median would be. And this is quartile 2. So really what we're doing is we're just showing you how to separate it first. Now the next part is we're going to separate the lower half of data. So the lower half of data is right here. And what we're going to do is we're going to split that in half. To split that in half, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 birds. That would mean we would section it off into 4 birds here and 4 birds here. This is what we would consider quartile 1. Q1 is it separates the lower half from the upper half of data in the lower part of the data. Now the next step we're going to do is we're going to separate the upper half of data. So we take the upper half of data, there's 8 birds, and we're going to divide it into 2 equal parts. And this here would be quartile 3. Divide the upper half of data into 1 and another equal part. So these numbers here, or these spots, are where your quartiles are. They're dividing the data into equal parts. Now what happens in the next one? I don't think there's an even amount. Let's check. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Oh, there is an even amount. So that means that we're going to separate it between 7 birds on the lower half, 7 birds on the upper half. So right here in the middle where we're separating them would be quartile 2. Now the question is, where's quartile 1? Now quartile 1 is the median of the lower half. The median of this lower half would be right here in the middle, this guy, because he's separating into 3 birds here and 3 birds here. So if there's an actual piece of data that separates the lower half of data, you're going to circle it, and that particular person or bird or data point will be your quartile 1. Now the next part we're going to do is we're going to find our upper quartile, or quartile 3. Now since there's 7 birds here, the middle bird here is going to be quartile 3. And since it's an actual number or an actual bird, he represents quartile 3 because he's separated into 3 lower birds and 3 upper birds. So that's how you're going to find your quartiles. Now, last but not least is the bottom half. Now, in the bottom half, there is a odd number of birds. So if you look here, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 birds. So we're going to separate it. I believe this guy is going to separate it between 5 birds here and 5 birds here. So this guy is going to be our quartile 2. And now what we're going to do is we're going to find our lower quartile. The lower quartile is the middle of the lower half, which would be this guy. He's smack dab in the middle because there's 2 birds below him and 2 birds above him. So this would be quartile 1. This is also called our median. Now we're going to go up to find our upper quartile. The upper quartile is the bird that separates the middle of the upper half of numbers, which would be these 5 birds. This guy is our quartile 3, or upper quartile. So just by looking at that's how we separate our data into quartiles. I'm going to move on to the next video, but my recording space is getting low, so it's going to actually be paused in about 5 seconds. So I'm going to stop here.